We are live. What's up, Solar Community? We are back on another update on the FFCRA app.com. If you guys want to check it out, we have today Figure Financials representative to talk all about the FFCRA today. And just not too long, but about 15 minutes here. We got Joseph Horn. What's up, Joe?
Hey, what's up, Joe? Thanks for having me, man.
We were just talking beforehand, and we were like, "Wait, isn't there Joe Horn that's it was in the NFL, right?" But you said no, it's totally different. His last name does have an E in it.
yeah, dude. He's like 80% what I am. That's how I look at it.
And I guarantee you know way more about the FFCRA than he does.
I hope so. If not, you guys should actually probably go talk to him.
Yo, speaking of the FFCRA, some people didn't even know what it was. This guy right here, before Jonathan Gibbs told me about it and told me about Figure Financial. But now we are getting to the point where things are expiring. Right now, it's a point like if you don't do it, now you could lose out on thousands of dollars. And I wanted Joe Horn to get on here to talk about that and just do a recap just to make sure if anybody's out there that still doesn't know about the FFCRA, which is money from 2020 and 2021. If you were 1099 and had COVID, there is up to $32,000 of real cash sitting there waiting for you to grab, and it's your well-deserved money. And Joseph, I'm doing a horrible job of explaining it. I'm going to let you. Can you just do a quick recap of exactly what the FFCRA and why should people be listening in about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, as everyone listening knows, we got blasted by COVID back in 2020 and 2021. And the government was doing everything they could to keep small businesses, to keep self-employed individuals, large businesses, even everybody working as much as we could, keeping income going. And the FFCRA, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, was one of the things that they did that gave tax benefits and tax relief to individuals so that we could keep on moving forward. Fortunately, even though we are past the pandemic, it's no longer 2020 or 2021. Because of tax law, we are able to go back and amend to still claim these credits that are money that belongs to us, belongs to you. You can get these credits now, even 2-3 years later. But Joe, like you're saying, this is expiring soon for 2020. So this credit's broken out into each of those 2 years that we're talking about. And the government gives you 3 years to amend your tax return after it's due. So those 2020 returns that were due back in 2021, guess what? We're 1 month away now until those are expiring. So that's up to $15,000 that we could be missing out on if we're not pulling the trigger right now on this program.
We just went live on Instagram. So people just joining us right now, we are talking about the FFCRA, which is 2020 is expiring in a month, and what the FFCRA is actual money that if you were 1099 in 2020 and 2021 and had COVID, there's up to $32,000 available for you, and you have about 4 weeks to still get 2020's credits. And Joe, can you talk about the process of how to start getting it? And I want to make sure a disclaimer is that Figure Financial is not the only way to get this money, right? Like the FFCRA money is out there. Figure Financial is making it streamlined and easy and making sure you get the money as fast as possible and make sure you get the money at all, right? Can you kind of go over that, what Figure Financial does and what that process is?
Yeah. So like you're saying, Joe, this money's out there and it is not something that we're the only provider that you can get it from. But what we do is we have a ton of people working with us who have put hours into researching every piece of legislation about this, going into case law about how we can substantiate different pieces of this and maximize your credit to make sure you're getting the most money while also still being perfectly defensible in the event of an IRS review. Now, you can go somewhere else and get this. If you have a CPA that you trust and they offer this service, you don't have to go through us. Honestly, I just want you guys to get the money that you deserve because you are putting your tax dollars into the government and you deserve to get it back. Now, if you do choose that you want to work with us, a great place to start right there at the bottom of your screen is actually ffcraapp.com that Joe's got set up. And you can go there and submit an application that's going to put you into our system. And then we're going to get the ball rolling with you. So you're going to get a follow-up follow-up email that's got your next steps. If we need anything new from you, any documentation, any questions we have, you're going to get a reach out from our team. It's going to be Nick or Gabby or Amy. We've got great people working on the team. They're going to be reaching out to gather information quickly. We've got Brittany and Jackson working with me. We're going to be preparing your credits for you. We've got Porter sending your documents out. We've got a whole team of people all ready to go so that it's not one person working on your credit. It's a full team of people all specialized in their different areas, and you're getting the most money you can as quickly as possible. But like we're saying, this is expiring in a month for this 2020 portion of the credit. So even though we are a great team and I've got full faith in us, the earlier you get your information in, the better.
We got Joe Horn here, or Joseph Horn, or which one he likes better, with Figure Financial, going over the FFCRA. If you guys have any questions, this is the time. Put it in the comment section right now. If you're on Facebook, just make sure you put your name, or we want to know what your name is. Any questions? There's no dumb questions, but I know one popular question everybody's going to have is, what does Figure Financial get out of this? Why are they being so charitable? And how much does it cost for people to do it? Is there any fees? And how does those fees work?
Sure. So once you submit that initial application through the ffcraapp.com, you'll then be given that email with next steps, one of which will be an initial deposit of $150. This is just an initial document review fee that we're going to be looking at all of your information, preparing your amended returns, and delivering you your final packet. At the end, we will charge you a fee that is 20% of the credit, and the $150 that you paid earlier gets applied to that. So it's not as if it's 20% and 150. It goes right on in. But we do take 20% of the credit as our fee for doing all the calculation, all of the amended return preparation. And what you get for that is all we have to do is get some information from you, and we take care of the rest. We're going to file your taxes. We're going to monitor the amended returns to make sure that the credits are actually going through smoothly. If there's an error with the IRS, we've got attorneys who are going to reach out to the IRS and figure out what's going on and how we can resolve it. We're with you every single step of the way, doing all of the work, so that all you have to do is fill out a questionnaire, give us your tax returns. So make sure you have those 1040s and specifically that Schedule SE ready. And then once you hand it over, you're good to go. You can sit back, relax. We'll send some stuff over for you to sign, and you're chilling. That's it.
All right. So you said questionnaire. So let's talk about this questionnaire. So before we get into it, I'll share my screen and kind of actually show the application, and we'll go over it. But we have a Facebook user who didn't put their name in, wants to know, I'll put it up here. What do we need to have in order to try to get this credit? Doctor documents?
So that's a great question. Our questionnaire asks a lot of really specific questions. So doctor documents, like you're saying, not required. If you have that, fantastic, amazing. We would love to have it. We'll take it. We'll keep it on file. We'll put it in your final report. But we have specific guidance from the IRS in the Code of Federal Regulations 802.100. And then it's addressed again in IRS Fact Sheet 2022-16. And it goes into all of the specifics about what we actually need to substantiate your credit, and doctor's documents are not one of them. So, and a common example that we'll see, and something that I bet most of us experienced, was we thought, oh, we're exposed to COVID. Let me go get an at-home test, right? And you go out and you get the test and you're waiting for the results. Maybe it's positive, maybe it's negative. But either way, you're taking some time off of work, or if it is positive, you're resting at home, you're recovering, and you never went to a doctor. It's totally plausible. And the IRS knows that as well. And so in our questionnaire, as you're filling this out, you're meeting all of the substantiation and documentation.
Let me do it right now while we're talking, since you brought it up. I'll share my screen and go over it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is the application itself, and kind of go through it.
Yeah. So we're going to start this off right asking with what your business is set up as. Because a lot of people are going to work with sole props or partnerships or corporations. And the different answer you pick here can determine your qualification. So a corporation, you would not qualify, but sole prop or partnership wages would. You also have, did you receive a 1099 as an independent contractor? Did you receive a W-2? If you did receive a W-2, we just want to make sure we're not double counting any FFCRA wages you received from an employer. Did you experience COVID symptoms? All these next questions are going to ask you questions to get you thinking about, how was I affected? Because we're talking about 2020 here, right? That was 4 years ago. And it's not going to be right there on the top of our head. So, oh, do I have children? Yeah. Were their schools closed? You know what? Their schools actually were closed at the end of that school year when everything initially got shut down. Perfect. We're asking all these questions to get you thinking. And here we're giving you these areas where you can type out free responses to these questions. There's going to be a second follow-up questionnaire that gets specific days, because the IRS does require us to look at specific days. And when we have that one combined with this one, we're creating the picture of what actually happened and how you were affected in COVID. And it's enough for the IRS to satisfy it. And if it's not, if something you put on there is a little bit gray or ambiguous, you're going to get a reach out from our team. And we're not going to immediately just say, you don't qualify for this day, even though it might seem unrealistic, because some people got affected in different ways. And so we're going to reach out to you and say, hey, this is what we're looking at. It doesn't quite add up with what the IRS is normally seeing. For example, if someone took 90 days off because they tested positive for COVID, when the normal quarantine time was 14 days, right? That's going to be a red flag when the IRS is looking at it. But as you're going through this and filling this questionnaire out, maybe you can say, oh, this is why it took me 90 days. Or if we have a question, we'll reach out to you and ask for further clarification. But either way, we have specific guidance from the IRS. You do not need a doctor's note. You do not need much proof at all for this. As long as what you're saying can be supported and is believable, the IRS will work with it.
Boom. I'm just going through it here. Literally, what I just did, I just finished it all up already. I have to try see if I can finish it real quick and get an estimate here. And so this is just maxing it out, really. But I really want to do based on what their circumstances were. Boom. Yeah. So $26,000 just based on the information I put in. So how would that work now? And how do talk about the money part? Because I know that people want to know, like, all right, $26,000 I just made. Woohoo! What is the part I actually get, and how do you make the money? How do you get that 20%?
Yeah. So as soon as you hit submit at the bottom of this, once you fill in your contact information, you're going to receive an email that's going to give 4 next steps for you. The first is going to be filling out a form 8821. This is going to allow us to access your 1040 information on your behalf with the IRS. And that's the part earlier where I was talking about filing for you, monitoring your credit. That's what that form does for us. The next is going to be the services agreement to work actually with Figure. And it's just going to be our contract with you. Very standard stuff, but I do always recommend someone reads a contract they're signing beforehand. The third one is going to be a questionnaire. That's going to be where we get the specific dates that we're talking about. It's going to be a follow-up, very similar to the one that Joe just filled out on screen, but it's going to be more in-depth for you. And then the fourth one is going to be an invoice for that $150 that we were talking about for the document review fee. Later on down the line, once we get to filing your credit, like Joe was just saying, that $26,000 right there, that is just an estimate. Maybe Joe gets 24, maybe he gets 28, depending on how everything shakes out when we get his actual days. But we're going to file those amended returns with the IRS. And for 2020, you'll receive a check in the mail to your address. And for 2021, we are seeing a mixture of direct deposit and checks in the mail. We're requesting direct deposit for those who would prefer it, but depending on the IRS agent you get, I mean, it's the IRS. What can you do? But you're going to get those 2021 returns because we're able to e-file them in roughly 2 to 6 weeks. And then we're seeing somewhere between 12 and 16 weeks for 2020 returns right now, because those ones all have to be mailed in and paper filed with the IRS.
So you said the $150. I want to make sure it's clear for everyone. If you do pay the $150 and then you find out that, oh, you know what, I don't qualify or I'm not getting any money, that they'll return that 150 back. Can you go over that real quick, Joseph?
Absolutely, Joe. That's a great point. The $150 deposit is for us to look at your returns to see if you qualify. And if you do qualify, it's going to get applied to your credit. If you don't qualify, that money's going right back to your pocket. We are taking absolutely nothing from you. So there is no risk. If you apply and you submit your documentation and you get a credit, fantastic. If you submit your documentation and you don't get a credit, I mean, all you really lost was a little bit of time to fill out the questionnaires and gather the documentation. But money-wise, you're even. You spent nothing.
You gave Figure Financial a $150 loan that they really needed. So
Oh yeah, big 150, big 150, Joe.
There's one question here in the comments. I'm not sure. It might be Jesselyn, but we'll put the question anyway. Would it matter if we received unemployment during this time?
Great question. It depends on the type of unemployment you received. So if you were a W-2 employee and you received normal unemployment style benefits while also getting this, you're perfectly okay. However, a lot of self-employed individuals were given unemployment through the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, the PUA program. And for the time period that you were covered under the PUA, you would not also be able to claim credit. But it is not a complete one-to-one cancellation. So if you were covered under PUA from July through August of 2020, that's the only time period that gets canceled out for this credit. Any days outside of that range are still fair game. That is a misconception we actually see a lot. People assuming that because I received unemployment through PUA at all, I no longer apply for this. And that is not true. It is a day-by-day evaluation of were you receiving government benefits from two programs at the same time? Because ultimately what the government's trying to avoid is you receiving double benefits from COVID programs. But each day you can get one, and it doesn't matter which one you get.
So speaking of government benefits, there's others out there like the ERC, and people confuse the ERC with the FFCRA. And there was issues with people getting audited with ERC for some reason. And getting a lot of kind of like feedback towards like, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to get audited, which is crazy to me because how much money you're talking about here. But can you just hit on that for anybody who's asking those kind of questions?
Yeah. So claiming a tax credit in general is not going to flag you for a higher risk of audit. The normal audit percentage is roughly 5% of individuals in any given year. Now with ERC, that was a bit of a special circumstance. I don't know how much you guys have been following along with ERC news, legislation, but there have been so many different IRS bulletins. They recently did the moratorium. There's recently the tax bill that just passed in the House that was to completely end ERC as of the end of January, because there were so many companies filing fraudulent claims for ERC. Because of that, ERC then became a flag. However, and even within ERC, it was only above a certain threshold that was getting automatically flagged. So this program, this FFCRA tax credit for you guys, is not under any form of governmental scrutiny right now. There's no legislation to kill it. There's no bulletins being posted about fraudulent claims. This is not going to increase your chances of getting audited. However, as I mentioned earlier, there is still that 5% chance that you're going to get audited at any given moment. And that can just happen. What we're doing for you is the packet that we deliver you at the end of our process includes all of the substantiation information that you gave us for 2020 and 2021. So we mentioned earlier, you don't need doctor's documents, but if you have them, we'll throw them in the report. But our questionnaire is designed to walk you through and get you all of the information that you need so that if you're audited, just hand over the report. The rest of the taxes are still going to have to be defended, but for this specific COVID tax credit, hand over the report. Everything they need is in there and you are good to go.
So the bottom line is just like Nike says, just do it. No matter what, because it's not going to hurt you. You can find it's like a actual lottery ticket. You can actually win with actual percentage on that side. So like no matter what, do it. Pay the 150. If you don't qualify or anything, you get the money back anyway. So it's a no-brainer. Last thing I want to hit before I let you go, Joseph, is this is expiring. This is on April 15th. There's no more. I think it's a couple weeks to process. So like if you don't do it in the next week or two, like you're done, right? Can you just kind of go over that real quick to make sure everyone understands like this is ending and what happens after it ends? And realistically, let her know like what's actually going to happen so they know what's going to, realistically what's going to happen afterwards.
Yeah. So yeah, Joe, like you're saying, this is going to be ending April 15th for 2020. 2021, you still have a full year. But for the 2020 portion, April 15th. Now, you can still get all $32,000 on that 2021 tax return, but it's going to be a lot harder because all of the days you took off in 2020 no longer qualify, no longer eligible for the credit. So what we strongly recommend people doing, because 2020 was when a lot of people were affected. It's the very beginning of the pandemic. Apply as quickly as possible. If you're watching this, honestly, just apply right now. Just go down to FFCRAapp.com and apply right now. Start the process. We are going to be working very quickly on your claims because we know that there's a deadline coming up. So you can go all the way up until April 1st, and we're still going to push to get you your credits. But I will say the longer you wait, the more we're going to be rushing with you. So we're going to need a lot more, contemporaneous communication with you about this. Make sure you have your documents ready, the 1040s that we're talking about, the Schedule Cs. Make sure you're ready to sign the services agreement. Whenever we get the final packet over to you, you got to sign the final packet. We're going to be doing everything we can to process as many of these claims by that deadline as we can. But the sooner you get it in, the better. I really encourage everyone watching to do it as soon as you can.
Okay, so really the bottom line is go to ffcraapp.com, fill it out, and then you'll find out, you'll get the estimate, and then they'll follow up with you to start the process and let you know what you actually qualify for and what you get realistically. And I'm doing it ourselves. It's a no-brainer. We're talking about $20,000 to $30,000 that you didn't have in your pocket that you can now. So we have a goal to help the solar community out, raising over $1 million just by having 100 people or so like sign up. Like it's a no-brainer for the solar community to do it. Any last thoughts, Joseph? Anything people should expect or know before I let you go?
Last thing I want to say is I know from you guys' perspective, this has got to be something that you're thinking, this is too good to be true. Because if I was in your position, I would think the exact same thing. But I want to say this is a product that is true. We are filing it for ourselves. We are filing it for our family members, for our friends. We're anybody and everybody who we can get this to. This is a very real product, and we have seen people getting money back in their pockets already. And we've even seen some people get up to that $32,000 maximum that we've been talking about. So apply. It is not too good to be true. You deserve this. You pay your taxes, get your taxes back. That's what they're there for.
That was Joe Horn with Figure Financial. Everybody, if you haven't, go to ffcraapp.com and the team at Figure Financial will help you with the rest of the process. Appreciate you, Joe. Appreciate you guys at Figure Financial. This has been amazing for the solar community. This is our last one we're doing. We might do one more just to make sure the last day. But make sure everybody knows, go to ffcraapp.com before it's too late. All right, Joe. Really appreciate you, bro.
Thanks, Joe.
Out. Peace.